Welcome to the Host Planet Playbook, your go-to guide for mastering short-term rentals. In this special series, we're sitting down with 30 of the world's top property managers to uncover what really drives success in the vacation rental industry. You'll hear their stories, learn the key lessons they've picked up along the way, and discover the game-changing tech they use to deliver 5-star guest experiences. If you're serious about growing your STR business, you're in the right place. We've also developed an ebook featuring the stories of every manager in this series, and you can download it for free. Head to hostplanet.club to find out more. In today's episode, we're chatting to James Cornwell from Curated Property. Stand by for a deep dive into the luxury sector, delivering a personalised guest experience and dealing with work-life balance. This special series is brought to you by Host Planet and Hospitable, the smart AI-powered property management software trusted by hosts worldwide. With Hospitable, you can automate guest messaging, sync calendars across platforms, and manage your rentals with ease, all from one powerful, easy-to-use platform. If you're keen to run your short-term rental on autopilot, try Hospitable today. Visit hospitable.com/hostplanet to see how the platform can save you time, reduce stress, and maximize your earnings. James, thank you for being part of the Host Planet Playbook. Let's start with you. What's the name of your company? Where are you located? And how many rentals do you manage?
Hello. Name of the company is Curated Property, and we manage just over 80 properties, predominantly located in London and Bath are our two core markets, and we've started bringing on properties around the UK under a slightly different model. I moved to Portugal last year, so we've just set up a new office in Portugal, and I'm currently in Brazil visiting family. So bit of everywhere.
We're ticking off plenty of countries. And tell us how you got started in the STR space.
How long have you got, and how far do you want to go back? I've always been brought up around property. My family, property developers, always been brought up around property. And I worked as an estate agent for about 4.5 years straight out of uni, and then pivoted and went into private aviation, and then set up a company with family about 7 years ago. And business and family don't always mix particularly well. So about 3.5-4 years ago, I set up Curated Property alongside my co-founder, Tom.
Okay, so tell us about the journey then, and what makes Curated Property stand out among the competition?
Very good question. Really, it's customer service. I think that a lot of people talk a good game. We've coined the phrase high tech, high touch. So it's balancing the best technology in class alongside customer service. I think once you start to grow too big, the customer service seems to dwindle somewhat, and it's actually one of the hardest things we're facing at the moment is growing a portfolio whilst retaining that high level of customer service, and making sure that it's not 100% founder-led. Obviously, from an acquisitions perspective and a sustainable kind of company perspective, it can't be founder-led forever. So, yeah, we're trying to put in systems and automations and workflows in place to make sure that it's that it works.
Tell us, what are the main challenges and opportunities in the markets where you're active?
The main challenges at the moment are the updated fire risk assessments. We have recently got very close to signing a handful of 4 and 5 and 6 bedroom houses in the heart of Bath, which are absolutely breathtaking. But these are grade 1 and grade 2 listed properties. So we have to get consent to make any amendments inside the properties. And the fire risk assessment and the planning don't kind of connect. There's a bit of friction between those two entities. So we've had numerous situations recently where a client is super interested in renting their property out. Their council tax has been doubled, so they want to obviously, move over to business rates and rent it out. A couple of the properties in question, they've moved to Singapore, and the property is sitting there completely empty, not generating a penny. But when we go to them and say, right, you need to spend 20, 30 grand, upgrading the property to adhere with the updated fire risk assessments, not even just from a cost perspective, but more from an aesthetic perspective, and the grade 1 and 2 listed angle, they're not willing to do that. So we've actually lost a few properties in our current portfolio, but also lost a few potential future properties because of that. So I would say that that's one of the most frustrating things in the immediate future within, what I can kind of immediately touch. Outside of that, I think Pask did a little coffee coaster thing with every single issue and bit of government legislation that's coming into play over the next kind of last year and the next couple of years. And put your hand in a bucket and pick one. High interest rates, double council. I can list them, but I think most viewers would understand. Pick one. Registration scheme, planning, C5 planning. The list is endless. And I think it's that uncertainty that I'm really keen on just moving past and moving forward with. So I can, I want to hire more people. I want to grow my business. But until all this legislation firms up, I'm at a point right now that I'm just holding fire on investing money and employing people because I'm uncertain about what the future holds.
What do you think the industry needs to do to fight back?
What does the industry need to do? Well, getting rid of labour for a start would, in my opinion, be a good start. But that being said, Conservatives were the one that were implementing a lot of these policies in the first place. I think government over the last 15 years have been pretty rubbish and imposing a lot of red tape. I think we need to get rid of the red tape, implement a sensible registration scheme, look at the data, look at the facts, and then move the industry forward.
You spoke before there about scaling, and when you add properties, the challenge is to keep the customer service as good. Do you think there's a sweet spot in the number of properties that you can manage as a relatively small, medium-sized business? And what do you think that sweet spot is?
12, to be honest. We've coined the phrase high tech, high touch. And the reason why we've kind of coined that is because when I first started in this industry, and bear in mind, my background is high-end property and private aviation. Those two parts, you have to bring the highest level of customer service to those two job roles. Otherwise, you lose your clients. I completely forgot the question now. Sorry.
Is there a sweet spot in relation to the number of properties that you can manage and still keep the customer service very high?
So it's going to be 12, and looking at the customer service. Using my background in private aviation and property, what I realised was when I first entered this industry, there was two types of companies: the ones that are super high tech focused, the big boys like Sykes that are using all sorts of AI and amazing PMS integrations, and they're doing, they've got the budget, they've got the funding, they're using, amazing technology, good on them. And then you've got the more boutique small agents that are typically sub kind of 20 or 50 units, and they hover around those numbers, because they don't have great technology. They don't have the infrastructure that they need to continue growing whilst retaining that high level of customer service. So I think what I would like to think is kind of figured out that sweet spot of leveraging technology to the best of our ability, and using similar tech to the big boys, but whilst also ensuring that we are still a boutique agency. I'm in a fortunate position that a lot of our properties are high-end properties. So even looking at some of our largest competitors in the UK, they kind of cap out around 350 to 500 properties at that high end level. And if you want to do more than that, then you start to lower the quality of properties that you're coming on. So I'm actually okay being, in terms of unit size, smaller, but specializing and doubling down in the high end arena. And also during a cost of living crisis, what we've seen is a lot of our smaller units are struggling, but the big ones are not. And that's typical of any sort of financial crisis. You know, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It's horrible. But having luxury properties, I think, helps a little bit, and it helps us weather that storm a little bit better.
What are your top tips for keeping owners happy?
So the first thing that came to mind was me. Annoyingly, having to pick up the phone, go out for dinners, have a few beers. It really is that level. And WhatsApp, you know, I hate the thing. I really, really do. But having our owners being able to contact both myself, head of ops, co-founder on WhatsApp, kind of at any time, I think is probably quite important for a lot of our owners. We're trying to move away from that a little bit. We're trying to put in systems in place where it's not just knee-jerk reactions and instant responses at 11 p.m. at night. But the one thing that I've learned from working in private aviation is that if you don't respond, high net worth individuals will drop you like a hot potato to the next best thing. And that's just the honest, brutal truth of it. So we can try as much as we like systemizing and pushing owners to not call us or WhatsApp us late at night or on Sunday mornings. Sunday mornings is always the fun one. And we can try and push back and put some boundaries in place. But we can't forget that this is still hospitality and we're dealing with high net worth individuals and they're used to a certain level of quality. And if we don't provide that quality, you know, they'll drop us like a hot potato. So, yeah, we can try, but whilst acknowledging that we need to be flexible with these owners.
Yeah, these are owners who expect to be able to speak to the guy in charge straight away, not just get through to a VA or maybe somebody else in the business. In terms of the guest experience, how do you make sure that you deliver a great guest experience?
Great guest experience starts from the first words that you respond to any inquiry with. So our customer service team have great training on how to respond to guests. I brought it up last week in the team meeting, and I never thought I'd hear myself saying this, but saying I haven't received any expenses this month. So all of my team have free reign to spend anywhere from 50 quid to £100 without asking or talking about it, to try and wow guests. And that's a bottle of champagne. I know we're not supposed to do champagne, but alcohol, but a gift of sorts. And I had zero expenses, and I complained to the guest comms team saying, guys, what's going on? Like, are you saying that in the month of June, nobody had a birthday or celebration or an anniversary or some special occasion going on? So I had a bit of a go, saying spend more money on some of our guests. We need to be wowing them. And I was reading on LinkedIn a cool comment that I saw that I think I'm going to implement, which is a manager saying to a guest, if I had a magic wand right now, what would I do to improve your stay during the stay? And I thought it's a bit cheesy, bit American, but actually I really loved that. So I think I'm going to start doing that with some of our, top. You can't do it with every single property, and also, some guests will then write you a long list of 15 things that they want. But all feedback's good feedback, but it's peak season. We've got 80 properties. There's only so much we can take. But yeah, in short, I think I'm going to start doing that, and kind of 1 in 5 responses, or at least for our top 20 properties, ask every guest, if we had a magic wand, what could we do to improve your stay? I think the other thing is the guest journey has to be seamless, and it's still quite archaic in a lot of we use Guesty as our PMS, which we love. I still think they're market leaders at the moment. But we use Enzo Connect for our boarding pass, so we can upsell, we can offer the guests experiences, and I've built personally experiences, not just a sightseeing bus tour, but it's a private sauna with ice baths on a farm overlooking the Cotswolds. You can't find it on Google. I mean, you can if you search hard enough, but these are the unique, small experiences that I know, that my owners know, that my team knows about, that we want to share with guests, rather than just sending them a generic book some random thing off this website and we'll take a 2% commission. Great. So all the experiences, a lot of the experiences I've manually uploaded myself to ensure that guests really enjoy their time, and it's a unique experience. It's a curated experience. There we go. It's not just a generic one.
A curated experience from Curated Property. And do you find, if you're hosting high-end guests, which we imagine you are in the properties that you've got in your portfolio, are they more likely to take up these kind of off the beaten track experiences when it comes to upselling?
Yeah, they are. I mean, yeah, they are. And the word upselling is being thrown around a lot at the moment. And to be honest with you, from our side, we offer a lot of upsells and really cool experiences. It's hard to integrate these experiences unless it's a corporate one. But some farmer that's got an amazing sauna and ice baths, he doesn't have the technology to properly integrate to track where the bookings are coming from. I would rather just help him out and, offer our guests. It's added value for us. If our guests have a good time, they're going to enjoy the property better, and they're hopefully going to come back. We don't really generate much doing upsells, to be honest. I know some people do, but we don't. And we're okay with that because we want to keep it curated. And I don't want to just put a load of junk on Enzo Connect because you get paid for it. That's not really what we're about.
Yeah, I hear a lot of property managers, especially in the high-end space, saying we just offer extra opportunities to improve the guest experience, not necessarily to improve the bottom line, which does make a lot of sense. What's your biggest lesson learned since starting the business?
The irony of me moving from private aviation into the STR world for a better quality of life is not lost on me. You are working all hours under the sun. There is I'm currently in Brazil. I'm on holiday, and I've been working every single day. Maybe I've got a problem. Maybe I'm addicted to work. That's probably another part of it. But you can't really switch off. And I think that's hard. For me, it's okay. It's my company. I'm growing something great. But to look after the team is quite hard, because sometimes you do need people to work a little bit extra out of hours and pick stuff up. But the biggest learning, I would say, is an accountant. Get a good accountant. They can mess things up so badly. We had one that messed things up, and it was a massive pain to kind of fix. And when you're working at scale, one small problem across a portfolio of properties can suddenly become a very big problem. Luckily, I caught it after about 3 months, because I kind of oversee everything. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And needless to say, let him go very quickly, and then found an absolute superstar. But yeah, making sure financial hygiene in this game is absolutely key. And I think if Simon Lehman, he often does talks around this at the short stay summit, and your conference as well, where he talks about financial hygiene. And I think that's key. I've spoken to so many competitors, smaller scale, kind of sub 50, and they're telling me how they're running their books, especially things around VAT and things like that. And I'm like, you're not doing it right. And, you're essentially jeopardizing your business. So, making sure you've got good financial hygiene is absolutely key in this industry.
Yeah, I guess one of the challenges is you've got a lot of money coming in, but yours is a relatively small percentage of that cash. You're taking the commission. So how important is it as a property manager when you've got this massive revenue not to get carried away?
That's a very good point. So, first of all, there are plenty of cowboys and idiots out there in this industry that are spending money that's not theirs. As a company, we ring fence all of our client funds, and then we take our fee from that. So we work similar to how an estate agent would, but that's not enforced, that's voluntary. And I think that a lot of people enter this game are running cash flow negative businesses. And that's why I often do check on companies' house, competitors and other people running their businesses, just because I think it's interesting to see where you are and people say you shouldn't compare, but actually it's quite useful to compare and see where other companies are and what they're doing. And the amount of times I see kind of negative balances, and I'm just thinking this isn't going to end well. Cash flow positivity is key, and it's one of our key KPIs that we have internally on our management report, is looking at financial hygiene.
And you mentioned something else before, which I'm sure will resonate with a lot of property managers, especially people leading the companies. They feel like they don't have any time because they're on call forever. You've obviously got young family as well, and I'm sure that's the same for a lot of other people out there. How do you ensure your work-life balance, or is there just not really a work-life balance?
It's a battle that I've faced for years now. I don't think I've ever succeeded. Work-life balance, I think, in this industry is very hard to come across. I think we are living almost in a world now that people keep talking about work-life balance. And if I'm being completely honest, if you want to grow a successful, profitable company and potentially have an exit one day, you've got to sacrifice something, and that sacrifice often is the work-life balance. There is no way of easily, despite what you see on Instagram and LinkedIn, all these people driving around in Lamborghinis, it's all BS. It's all smoke and mirrors, most of it. And you've got to make sacrifices. I try and mitigate those sacrifices, especially around my kids, as much as humanly possible. I still do most pickups, most drop-offs. I'm still very present, but I just try and maximize my time during the day, and then I work into the evenings as well. So I'm kind of on from 6, 7 until 10, 11. But in between that, I make sure that I have time for my kids and I'm doing stuff and I'm fully present. I throw my phone. Sometimes I literally throw my phone on the bed. I'm like, oh, bugger off phone. And I just kind of ignore it for an hour or so. So I can actually be fully present. And actually what I found with kids is that it's much better being fully present for half an hour or an hour versus being semi-present, omnipresent for 2-3 hours. So they get so much more out of it when you're fully present. So yeah, throwing my phone on the bed and going to play with them is pretty key. But in terms of work-life balance, I don't think it exists in this industry or other industries. If you want to grow and succeed in this competitive landscape and market, you've got to sacrifice something.
What do you love most about your work?
What do I love most about my work? Going back to the work-life balance thing, I would say this is maybe not STR specific, but more me specific, running my own company, which is I can stop work now and go and spend 2-3 hours with my kids if something's happening, or take them to the beach after school or whatever it is, and then come back. Unless I have really important specific meetings, obviously I've got to kind of, adhere to those. But if it's kind of more of the generic workload, I can pause that workload and go off and do something. I'm not stuck at my desk. When I was working for corporate companies, I was stuck at my desk from 9 till 5. And, sometimes your brain is non-functional from 3 p.m. onwards. So you're literally just sitting at your desk, not working from 3 till 5, or productivity levels are minimal, and then you're not, you need to re-energize sometimes. And that's what I found in this industry and running my own company is, work comes like waves. When a good wave comes, you've just got to ride it. And if that means that you've got to work for 4 or 5 days until 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning because you've got contracts coming in or issues or growth plans, or you're working on an exciting project, roll with it, do it. But when the wave stops and you have a lull in the waves, then embrace that time. Stop trying to catch a wave that doesn't exist. Because then you'll just burn out. And this is coming from a guy that's almost on perpetual burnout cycles. But I try and take my foot off the accelerator before I get to that stage, which I'm learning to do a bit better now.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay, then, James, we've got a few quickfire questions, or more quickfire. Which PMS do you use? You have mentioned this already.
Guesty.
Which dynamic pricing tool do you use?
Wheelhouse, the best in class.
Which piece of tech couldn't you live without?
I mean, it would have to be Guesty.
Ideally, pets, yes or no?
Yes, but in brackets, subject to the property.
Same question with hot tubs.
Again, yes, but in brackets, subject to the property. And if it's rural, trying to get a cleaning team at a cost-effective rate to go to a rural property and change after every single changeover and treat it can often be cost prohibitive versus, but yeah, if you've got a cleaning team that's already on site and has jacuzzi training, great. But if it's rural, remote, and you need to pay somebody a couple of £100 or 50, 60, 70, whatever it is, every single changeover in time, it's probably not worth it if it's a return on investment that you're looking for.
Yeah, that's the thing. It boils down to the cleaning often. Ideally, self-check-in or a personal welcome?
Always personal welcome with us, all of our properties. Apart from the one beds, they're self-check-in.
Telephone call or an AI response?
Oh, don't get me started. Telephone call, 110%, and we're doubling down on that. We use AI to the best of our ability, but we're hospitality. And if you look at any posh hotel, jet company, they're never going to be AI automated. And as soon as they do, they're going to start losing business. High net worth individuals sorry, I'm going off on one, but one word answers.
That's fine. Absolutely fine. Your most memorable hosting moment?
My most memorable hosting moment. I'd say we had a penthouse in London a few years back, and we had a Hollywood director come to stay. And needless to say, I personally did the meet and greet there, selfless as I am. And he ended up inviting me to a private premiere in a hotel cinema, and then they did the whole big Leicester Square thing. But it was a private showing, and met some incredible people, had some amazing conversations, and felt like I was part of the 1% until I left the room again and came back to reality.
Better to have experienced the 1% once than all the rest of it, as that saying goes. Okay, then, shout out time. Is there an individual in the industry who's helped you that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, there's a few people, really. I would say, without a shadow of a doubt, Alistair Handyside at Pask is the biggest embodiment of natural passion towards fighting our cause. And I think that Graham Donoghue as well becoming chair, I think, of the STAA, and trying to get those two, because it always felt like those two were not kind of getting on so well. So to have the STAA, under Graham Donoghue input and having PASC, and both of them working a bit better together, is only going to cement the power of working together to try and get our way and try and lobby and try and influence some of the legislation that's coming in, rather than different people going off in different directions. So I would say excited and somewhat relieved to see Graham Donoghue become chair of the STAA. I don't know why I feel relieved, but just see such a titan of industry. And then obviously Alistair at PASC, who just fights our corner and also loves a beer, which is also very nice. So going for a beer with him after a show and chatting is really nice. And I've got to say one more person that's is Rudy, who runs Mavericks, and obviously has got his own company in Tel Aviv. He has volunteered and helped so much information and connected so many people, and frankly hasn't asked. And it's purely from a happy to connect interesting people with interesting people. So yeah, you asked for one person. I think I gave you three.
Three excellent shout outs there. And Graham actually is also part of this series, and I interviewed him recently. And brilliant episode about lots of AI talk in that one. Okay, then, question to finish: the ultimate goal for your business?
To become market leaders in the UK and beyond. I think really if we can get to around 500 properties globally, where we start to reduce the smaller units that we have and really double down on the best of the best, that is the dream. We're currently sitting at 80, so nowhere near that figure yet, but we've just started getting some really good traction with some ad campaigns. And a new marketeer, and it's starting to really pick up. So I think between 350 and 500, that's where all of our top competitors are, and it seems to cap off at that amount at the high end level. I don't think you can really go above that too much if you're specializing in the high end. So that's the dream.
Superb. I love the dream. James, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast and for being part of the Host Planet Playbook.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the invite.
All right, that's it for today's episode. My thanks to James for sharing his journey and for being part of the Host Planet Playbook. Remember, this series is brought to you in partnership with Hospitable, the all-in-one property management software designed to save you time and help your business thrive. Hospitable automates your guest messaging, syncs your calendars across platforms, handles team tasks, and so much more, so you can focus on delivering a top-notch guest experience or just get some of your time back. And here's the good news. Host Planet Playbook listeners get an exclusive 14-day free trial plus 25% off for the first 3 months. Head to hospitable.com/hostplanet to claim your offer and start running your rentals on autopilot. For more free education for vacation rental hosts, head to hostplanet.club, where you can sign up for our newsletter, listen to our podcasts, and download our suite of ebooks. Until next time, happy hosting.